Hi there, my name is Tony Sasson. I'm the founder of Talk with Tone, and today I'm here to introduce you to the Effective Communications Club. So let's get right into it. So more than likely, if you find yourself watching this video, it's likely that you're here because you want to become a more effective communicator. Becoming a more effective communicator will then allow you to become a better leader, or just to become a leader in general in your current profession. So it's important to start out by understanding what are our roadblocks. Well, more than likely, you are a non-native English-speaking professional using English in the workplace. And beyond that, you have a very demanding job, very likely a very demanding personal life as well, and prevents you from being able to spend as much time and energy that you would like to spend in order to become a more effective communicator. Beyond that, the path forward to becoming a more effective communicator isn't so clear. That's what I'm here to do to help you clear things up. So to start out, communication is the ability to take an idea or a thought from your head and put it into someone else's head. Effective communication would be that both the sender of the message and the receiver of the message understand the message the same way. So how do we do that? How do we become effective communicators? The secret sauce is that we are empathic communicators. Empathic communicators are able to clearly demonstrate that they see things from someone else's perspective. They're able to communicate that, speak in a way that that person, whoever it is, their audience or a specific group of people or an individual, is able to understand their thoughts and ideas, that ultimately is able to persuade them, is able to influence them to take some sort of action or follow behind them on their thoughts and ideas. So at a first glance, it may seem a little counterintuitive that effective communication is effectively empathic communication. So here I want to just drive home the point that technical abilities can only get you so far. As the famous psychologist Daniel Kahneman showed in his book, Thinking Fast and Slow, roughly 95% of human decisions are driven by instincts, which are emotional. 5% of what we do is actually logical, slow, well thought out thinking. So it's important to understand that communication is more of an art when we get to the leadership level. And more than likely, you've already mastered the sort of technical level that you use on a daily basis in your job. But to go from the senior technical position to the senior leadership position, we need to be artists in our communication style, or empathic. So just in case you're not quite on board with the idea that empathic communication is the style of leaders, I've got a few leaders and some quotes from them that I would like to share with you to really drive this point all the way home. So the first leader in business that I would like to introduce would be Henry Ford. I would be willing to bet a lot of money that this man was not the most logical thinking sound brain in the room at his company. However, he was able to attract and organize the talent within his company so that they could take a 12-hour process and turn that into a 1.5-hour process. What was that process? Making cars. Again, there's very little chance that Henry Ford was ever the smartest man in the room when he was in the room of engineers, marketers, salespeople, you name it. But he was able to influence them in a way that led them to being their most effective selves through his effective communication style and constantly trying to put himself in the shoes of others. The next business leader that I'd like to introduce is the man that influenced me to become an electrical engineer. Steve Jobs started his company in the garage with the real logical brain, Steve Wozniak, but that involved him transferring his ideas and visions into the brains of others so that they could act on his thoughts and ideas, starting from his brain. Top-down communication turned into the largest company in the world. So that's the power of storytelling and effectively telling a story, which will be a large part of the focus of the Effective Communications Club. And so the last business leader that I'd like to introduce to fully drive home the point that empathic communication is the communication style of effective leaders would be Jeff Bezos. I want to highlight the principle that he laid out in his very first letter to shareholders back in 1997, in Amazon's very first year of being public, in which he also appended to every shareholder's letter thereafter, was that Amazon would promise to obsess over customers. What does it mean to obsess over customers? Very simply put, is to be empathetic, to consistently put themselves in the shoes of their customers and understand what the experience is like for their customers, which would allow them to continuously make the process and experience overall better, which is exactly what I've done since day one of starting Talk with Tone. So, how can we be sure that we're able to communicate on the same page as others? It's very simple. We remove all doubt that we started from a different page by reading books together. Quite literally, we'll be on the same page together. Now, the goal of reading books is not to say that we read some book. The goal of reading books together, again, is to be on the same page and understand how can we communicate when we're certain that we're working with the same information as others, just as we would be in business. Now, we'll read for 10 minutes a day, 3 days a week, and come together once in a live session of a small group with 3 to 5 people for 30 minutes. So in total, we'll spend 60 minutes a week. In the live groups, I'll be moderating discussions, debates, negotiations, storytelling sessions, and helping you explain complex topics in simple manners that others are effectively able to understand you. I'll be giving you individual, personalized feedback that will help you become a more effective communicator. So all of the skills listed on this slide are the necessary skills in order to do the science of communication. We must have these down pat because these are the skills that help us to be understood. Now, to be understood is one thing, but again, to be on the same page as another person requires seeing things how they see it and having the correct vocabulary and expressions to paint the picture so that they can understand you. And if you are a non-native speaker of English, there's a possibility that pronunciation and your intonation or your tone of voice is holding you back from being better understood by others. So I'll be giving you feedback on the phrases and vocabulary that you're using, as well as the sounds that are preventing you from being understood, whether it's your pronunciation or your intonation. The goal is that you're better understood by native speakers and allowing you to become the artist, which is the next level of communicating, and how we ultimately become empathic communicators. So as we work our way through this process, we'll be more and more confident that our base level language skills will be sufficient enough to allow us to become effective communicators at the highest level. That entails negotiating, that entails storytelling, which ultimately will be more confident to walk into any situation and be certain that we can effectively communicate our thoughts and ideas and know that we will be understood by our audience that we're communicating with. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video and to learn more about the Effective Communications Club. I really appreciate your interest. The last thing that I would like to mention is that a huge goal of the Effective Communications Club, and Talk with Tone in general, is to create a culture that you cannot find anywhere else. The professionals that I work with are striving to be the best version of themselves and are continuous learners. It's my kind of people. In order to continue attracting wonderful people like yourselves, I invite you to invite a friend to join the Effective Communications Club with you. I believe that learning with friends is a perfect balance of creating an atmosphere that's friendly but is also competitive, in which you feel comfortable to learn. The fact of the matter is, we're going to make mistakes. But the beautiful thing is that the more mistakes that we make means the more solutions we get to come up with to ultimately reach our end goals together. And we'll be learning together, we'll be making mistakes together, and we'll continuously improve together. So for anyone that decides to invite a friend, you'll receive 2 weeks free, and your friend will also receive 2 weeks free for joining. On that note, I'd like to say thank you again for taking the time to watch this video to better understand the Effective Communications Club, and I look forward to seeing you all in the club. Take care and have a wonderful day.